Oh, so we were talking the natural minor scale today, or depending on, as we were talking about, depending on how you look at it, the major scale. So if we're here, we're in A minor, starting on an A note on the E string. So yeah, so you've obviously got playing the scale down really good, and you're kind of just able to run up, run back down. So that's really really important. So some of the phrases we did. So we're starting at the top of the E string. That little, the more subtle you can get that, the better. You don't want it like this. It's a slight little like that. So just a hint of a slide before the note. It just makes it a bit more human. Okay, then we had. I know we didn't have that, but I'll just throw it in anyway. So we can and roll that back down. Kind of going a bit beyond the shape there, but that's okay. So roll that third finger. Third finger tends to do that a lot, actually. There's a lot of times where you'll find your third finger kind of rolling over strings. Another obvious example is the kind of classic sweep arpeggio. So it's kind of has to roll over those two fingers. Just in general, later on, some of the stuff we other did as well, just kind of bending that third finger in the way this way. Generally, with the basic chords, you don't want to be doing that, but with a lot of lead playing, bending your finger that way comes in handy. We'll get into that in a second. So we had and so what I'm getting across there is try to get a few jumps in there. Don't always just play the scale itself. Sort of jump across it back and forward and see what works. So then we came up to D minor. Now, so we were talking about how modifying the scale changes the mood of it. So the example we used today was the sharp sixth. Okay, so it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So this note is going to be replaced with this one. So there's the D. So we're back at 1 there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is going to come up here. Then we finish the scale as normal. So what we end up with is. And so we're saying that the sharpened sixth one in that context kind of gives it a much more funky, light-hearted kind of vibe, I suppose. So a lot of and it makes the straight lines for the barring. So remember, I was talking about bending your finger like this. So now instead of going, because this string has a note on the 12th fret as well, as does this one, and this one, and this one actually. You can sort of just. So, and as well as that, because these are all the notes are on the same fret here. Then you can just drop back on the ninth fret. You would do that with the G string, but now with this particular way of doing it, with the sharpened sixth, same is true with the D string. All right, and that's about it for now. So we've got. So just try and when you're going through the scale. Oh, it's not actually. We said we'd do the sharp seven in the video as well. Okay, so when you're going through the scale, just remember to recognize which degree you're on. So, like for example, this one. So, well, so that's a fourth there. So that means that the fifth must be just above it, which means that the flat fifth must be right above it. So if you're looking for that kind of bluesy, dirty, that's where that is. Or 1, 2, 3, 4 means the flat fifth must be just above it. So knowing where you are on the scale is very important. So like with the way the sharpened six gives you that sort of funky kind of feel to it, the sharpened seven, as we were talking about, gives you that generally serious, kind of feel to it. If you want to get more specific than just the word serious, obviously it's kind of context dependent. But so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 is going to be replaced with this. Then we're back up here. Eight refers to the same note as one. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Well, normally 7 is there. Now it's here. Or if that's a bit much of a reach, you can just put it there. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8. So again, just it's just a case of wandering about, knowing where you are, knowing what note you're on, and how you can change it, and what effect you can expect from said change. Right. So as I said, sharp and six, generally kind of a funky kind of vibe. Sharp and seventh, more classical, more serious. Um, so there it is. So just try to meander about those. Use plenty of hammer-ons, pull-off slides. You know, phrasing. Try and come up with phrases that are musical, and by that I mean try to avoid just playing according to the scale. Jumps. Skip various different notes. Skip entire strings if you want. That tends to sound nice. So you can see that there. And just wander about and see what happens. But just take note of where you are, what note you're on, and what you're doing to that note. Are you sharpening it? You might flatten it, and just take a note of what kind of effect it has. And you sort of, if you're always paying attention to that kind of thing, eventually you sort of build up a repertoire in your head of the various different changes you can make to notes, and you know what will happen as a result of those changes. And just keep in mind as well that depending on the chord progression that you're under, you might be a bit restricted on what kind of changes you can make there. So, for example, if I'm going D minor, G minor, this note here is the natural sixth of the scale. So, if that chord is something you're playing over, then you can't really go that funky sharpened sixth stuff, because you've got a natural sixth underneath it, and you'll contradict that, and usually, that's just going to sound a bit weird and dissonant, and not in a good way. So, all right, so just there's loads of exploring to do there. So just wander about, see where you end up. All right, talk to you next time.